Hey guys, welcome to another Top Table Wargaming YouTube video. This is a quick tutorial video showing you how to make some pretty realistic trees in my opinion. So what I'll do, I'll get off and start telling you the main pieces that you'll need. So these trees are going to be made out of what's called coconut hair. Now coconut hair you can buy it in sheets, or you can also buy hanging basket liners which are made from coconut hair. When you get your sheets, cut them into strips, starting at about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, and then slowly getting smaller, smaller, smaller. Once you've got them strips, then cut them into squares, and what you'll end up having is a load of different size squares. When you've done that, you need to organise them into biggest square down to smallest square. This will help you later on in the project. So roughly, you don't have to be exact. It's going to be something kind of like that, I think. Where's that one? Yep. And all you have to do when you get your squares is just round off the corners, and I recommend using scissors for this rather than a hobby knife, because the coconut hair can be quite tough and will blunt your blades very quick. So use a fairly decent, but not brand new pair of scissors, and do that with all your squares. So you're rounding off the corners, so you end up with these coconut hair discs. Okay, I'll do the rest of them off camera and then we'll come back. Okay guys, so we have cut all our discs, and as you can see we've got them in generally size order. They don't have to be bang on. What you're now going to do is, because these are quite thick at the minute, so what we do, you can split these into two. Yeah, so you just split the discs. So each disc that you have is going to become two. Yeah, and if you find it, sometimes you get little bits of just kind of like a bark in there. If you find any of that in there, just get rid of it. So, yeah, don't be afraid of tearing them. That's what you want. So you want two of every one. Yeah. There we go. Some of them will come apart very easy, some of them are a bit more stubborn. So two of every one. I'll do the rest off camera and then we'll come back. Okay guys, so as you can see I've done that with all the discs. They're all split into two. What you do now with these discs is you take each one and you just sort of tease it out. So you're not tearing it, you are pulling it. Just sort of pulling it, because they are sort of, how can I say, compacted into a shape in the factory or wherever they're from. Just tease each one out like so, yeah, and do that on them all. What I'll do is I'm just going to do it with the top ones of each, like so. You end up with slightly bigger discs. So I'm just going to fast forward and go through these last few. So I kind of got what we need there. The next material you need for this build is just a plain and simple wooden cocktail skewer. What we're going to do, we're going to spray that with some craft glue, spray adhesive, carpet adhesive. You can pick these up anywhere, pound shop, online. So the first thing we do is we spray the actual skewer, and what this will do, this will just help when you're threading these on stay in place. So we get the first one and we pop it on through the centre of the disc, like so. Next one, and then just keep going, and so on and so forth until they're all on. So we'll come back in a second. Okay guys, so all the discs are on now. What you're now going to do is go back with your scissors and you're just going to take off, because you're going to have a lot of these stray ones. Don't try and be tempted. It's just the stray ones you want. Don't try and sort of cut. You want all that randomness to your tree, so don't go too mad. It's just the ones that really look out of place you want to take off. So yeah, don't go too mad. We kind of want to keep that sort of randomness of nature on the tree. So you'll end up with something like that. Yep. Okay, we'll move on to the next stage, back in a second. Okay guys, you'll have to excuse the sound for a minute because I'm using my airbrush. So what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a dark brown raw umber or burnt umber. You can use rattle cans if you want. I'm just using airbrush because it's easier, and yeah, basically because it's easier. So all you're going to do is you're going to dust the tree in brown. Yeah, and you're going to get a nice good coverage. Try and make sure you get inside on the on the skewer in the centre. Yeah, get yourself a nice good coverage. So you've got a dark brown interior. Don't worry if there's the odd bit that you can't get at, because it just adds to the natural look. Yeah, but you know, just try your best. That ends up looking the best. And just do the lower part of your trunk. So I think that will do. So we'll come back in a second, guys. Okay guys, so now you'll have your undercoated tree. You can start teasing these things out a little bit. Filling in the gaps just by spreading the fibres, but don't worry too much because we're going to flock this and it's just going to finish it off nicely. So yeah, as you can see, that's the basis of the tree. The next step is get your spray glue again. You can do this with PVA. I have used PVA, it's just as effective. It's just that sometimes with PVA, when you're brushing it on, you're going to disturb the shape of the tree that you've got. So I'm just using the spray glue again, and you're just going to give it a good spray. Get a good frosting. And then from there, excuse me, let's get that ready. Oops. We get ourselves the flock, and we just cover the tree basically. Sprinkling it on the tree. Get our base colour down. Give it a tap. Turn upside down. Give it a tap. Turn it right way around. Give it a tap. And as you can see, already looks fantastic. Them fibres, they just give you the little branches coming off that you don't get with any other way of making trees, and it just looks really cool, I think. Can you see that? There you go. And that's the basis of your tree. So what we're then going to do is, always put a tray down, catch the flock that you're not using, you can put it back in a container. So just for a second we're going to put that to one side. I'll cut that back up later. What we're now going to do is put the tree itself to one side. We're now going to do the trunk. You can keep the skewer, but I always find it's quite thin. So what I'm using is, I think this is 10mm or 9mm balsa. So all we'll do, we'll cut ourselves, let's give it about 1.5 inches. You can cut this with your knife fairly easy. There you go. Tidy up the edge and get yourself a wire brush. Yeah, and all we're going to do is just brush along the grain with the wire brush. Just be careful when you use the wire brush, it don't catch your fingers, because especially if it's a stiffer brush, it will pierce the skin and it can be quite sore, so just be careful. So just do one end at a time. It's the easiest way to do it. It's highly likely you're not going to see the top as much anyway. Yeah. Now I've experimented with a few trees, and what I've also done with these is tapered the trunk. So what I mean by that is, before you texture it, getting yourself a knife and thinning out one end so the trunk's wider at the bottom than it is at the top. You can do that. You can do it whatever way you'd like. Just for this tutorial, I've not done it. I'm just showing you the basics. So once you're happy and you've got some nice bark effect on there, which you'll be quite surprised with how effective the wire brush is. It comes out quite well. And try and get rid of all the loose fibres off it, and you're pretty much cooking. What we'll do, I'll just go and get the next tool that we need and we'll come back in a second. Okay guys, so we've got our texturized tree trunk. What we're going to do is we're going to get a pin vise and we're just going to get it as central as we can. Doesn't really matter the size of the hole, you're just going to make a pilot hole using your pin vise in the centre. Doesn't really matter how deep you go, just try and go fairly deep. Probably say, I don't know, that's probably about 15 mil, that's perfect. That's all you need for that. Then get yourself, you'd call this probably a brad awl. If you've got a brad awl, it'll be a lot better, but it probably won't go as wide. The spindle for the skewer is, I'd guess, about 4 or 5 mil. So what you're trying to do is you try to just sort of tease that hole that you've just made to be slightly wider. And again, balsa wood, so just be very gentle with it. Don't force it. Let the sort of tool do the job for you. Just tease that opening to be wider. Yeah. And then what you can do is just check it, and that is lovely. Yeah. So all we're going to do now, we're going to get our snips, and we're going to cut the tree about there. We'll save that for the next one. And we are going to, if I can find my grips, makes life a little bit easier. If you've got a pair of pliers or grips, you're able to grip the tree by its trunk. It's a lot easier to tease it in. And away we go. Yeah. So what I'll do now is I'm going to come back, I'm going to paint the trunk and put it on a base, and then I'll show you how it looks. And there we go, a nice wargaming terrain tree. It looks a lot better than the cheap naff ones you can get based. All you got to do is dry brush, paint the trunk the same colour as the painted the internal of the tree, dry brush it. You can add some foliage to that, like I've shown in other videos, with the different shades of flock or leaves and things like that. I'm not going to show that here because there's no point, I've already shown it. But yeah, that's it. This is quite a narrow tree. You can go as wide as you want, going thicker. You can go starting smaller, going wide towards the centre, and then narrow again at the top to make more of a rounded oak style tree. This was just showing you really basic, larger discs to smaller discs, so you can go with it where you want. You can pull the discs apart more if you want it more bushy. It's just dead easy, dead easy, and you can do a lot in one go. So that is how you make really easy trees using coconut fir. See you soon guys, keep gaming.